to play the intro.
Let's bring on the people who are much prettier and funnier than us.
Yes.
Here with the award-winning.
Yes.
No Time to Binge.
I know those guys up in the mountains.
And now for something completely different.
Guys who make snow. Like as their job.
What I do is I look a woman up and down and I say,
I'm coming to join you!
bitch!
I would really like to do that.
Oh, that too far?
Oh, you want to get into things?
Well, I mean...
No. Let's get into things. Let's get real. Everybody, Bojack wants to get real. Cancel the bubble round, because we're getting real.
Oh, hello everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of No Time to Binge. Good and bad news. Bad news, unfortunately, our superstar host B Highland has caught the thing. And yeah, we told him stay off. Don't get your computer a bug or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is No Time to Binge. This is award-winning No Time to Binge. We have won 300 separate awards for this show, mostly for pop culture, mostly for comedy, mostly for other random things that are going on. And if you don't know what this show is, what we do is we find television shows that people like a lot. We watch just the first episode of one and then just the last episode of it. And then we fill in a bunch of random shit that we think should happen in the middle. And then we try to figure out if it's worth our time to binge this show. With me as always, obviously we have the big double D himself, Dylan Terry. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
We were calling you the D man earlier.
Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Then you got the big M millionaire Michael Colby down there. How are you, sir? Straight rocking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
Is this 90s Michael?
Oh man, it's just woke up, Michael.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
This is I love Nirvana. I'm pretending to be tired all day, Nirvana. Anyway, so what we did was we started watching a show called My So-Called Life. And if you don't know about this show, it came out in 1994, and it pretty much is all about the bastion of teen angst. Angela, who's played by Claire Danes, is a high schooler in constant turmoil over her exposure to boys, friends, drugs, sex, and basically the normal 1990s teen trappings. Now, many of the plots revolves around Angela's crush on heartthrob Jordan Catalano. Now, usually we kind of hop into what this is. If you watched our last episode for whatever reason, we went over Alf, and we go over sometimes plot holes that we missed, and we didn't actually miss any. So we got some random questions from our Patreon members, and they wanted to know certain things about our host. So I'm going to take a couple of seconds just so you guys get used to who we are as people by our enormous Patreon members. Now we have Reasonable Animal would like to know from Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, what's the weirdest thing you've seen in someone else's home?
Oh man. Well, I went over to your place the other day, and I gotta say, like, the list of things that I wrote down while you weren't looking was prodigious. Yeah. One of the gremlins from Gremlins, with illegal paraphernalia in hand. I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice. You must have set that up for some reason.
Yeah. It was a Cuban cigar, right? I think they're still illegal. And it is a double life-size gremlin. I don't know why I have that thing, but I worked in a movie theater for a long time. But yeah, that was pretty weird. Okay, let's see. Michael Colby, Cocky Classic 16 would like to know from you, what would be the worst, quote, buy one, get one free sale of all time?
The worst buy one, get one free sale. It would be if you had to buy a movie starring Jared Leto and you got a different Jared Leto movie for free.
Not two of the same movie?
Yeah,
no, it would be two different movies, but you would have to watch Jared Leto twice.
Okay. Yeah, that would be pretty bad. Now we have a question for B, but because they're not here, I'm going to ask both of you guys just to answer it for them, if that's okay. Hyena Subsequent 1994 would like to know from B, what is the most imaginative insult you can come up with?
Can I say it on the air?
Yeah, of course.
Oh.
This is PG-13, I think.
Oh, okay.
We're allowed one F word if we do it cool.
I'm going to let Michael take this one because I answered the first question.
Oh,
the most interesting,
the most imaginative,
yeah, insult that I can think of
that you can come up with
right now
at this moment, live
this moment
for charity.
For charity.
For charity. You're letting everyone down here.
Literally 8 minutes after I just woke up. The best insult I can come up with is fart eater.
Ooh,
okay. Well, we're set in the 90s, so that kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, do you have anything before I quickly move on from this bit?
Yeah, you're about as funny as those guys from that award-winning comedy podcast.
Oh boy. We're not.
Dude,
the problem is
I hate
without
you.
B here, and I just woke up.
B ties
we are
everything
not
together,
doing
guys.
this show justice today.
Okay, listen. We're gonna hop on to what we do on the show now. Once again, this is for charity. Okay, so we're obviously trying to do our best because this isn't the normal day we do things. Michael Colby's usually asleep right now. Dylan Terry is usually at work right now. I'm usually talking to nobody right now. So we're doing things that are really out of our realm for you, for charity. This is for the World, the World Central Kitchen, and also Sandy Hook Promise. So please throw some money into that GoFundMe. You'll probably find the links in the show notes. Now I'm going to do something crazy. If you can prove to me that you donated $10, I myself only will send you a personal podcast, a personalized podcast of your choosing. 2 to 3 episodes, I'm not sure. But if you can prove to me that you donated $10 in this GoFundMe, you get a one for you only personalized podcast by Zach Wiseman of Some Nobody's fame and award win.
Wow.
Just if they donate $10 during this episode.
No, actually, if you can prove to me in the next by the whole 12 hours when this thing is done, if you can prove to me, Zach Wiseman or Mick Manhattan, that you donated $10 to this thing, I will send you a personalized podcast of your choosing or my choosing, whichever you prefer. Anyway.
And if you donate $20, the Zach Wiseman podcast will guest star Michael Colby.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Now, if you donate $50, you'll get a season 2 of that. Okay, so anyway, My So-Called Life. Now, season 1, episode 1 is beautifully titled Pilot, which is giving you everything. Dylan Terry, can you tell me what happens in season 1, episode 1 called Pilot?
Man, you guys, life is hard in the 90s in high school. You dye your hair, your friends don't like it. You get a new friend, your friends don't like them. You don't like your friends. You like a boy, and a different boy likes you. You don't like your parents or your siblings. They like you, but not what you did with your hair. Angela, played by Claire Danes, is a girl who's having a hard time. She's just having such a hard time being liked and liking people. There's a bunch of stuff about liking people. It's very much like a teen drama. She used to be not popular. She made friends with a popular girl, changed her hair, isn't friends with her old friends, has a crush on a popular boy, might be a cult leader, who knows. Makes some inappropriate comparisons about how Anne Frank got to live in an attic with a boy she liked for a long time. Very 90s. They go to a party without her parents. It's kind of classic 90s shenanigans. Lie to your parents about going to like a study over or something. Go to a band party, get assaulted by some 20-year-olds, get arrested by a cop, get taken home by that cop. Your crush sees you, or the guy who's crushing on you sees you get out of the cop car. And then you see your dad with another woman, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a little unclear because it's dark out.
It's unclear.
But yeah, man, just life is hard.
Man, shit's
know?
sad.
It's sad.
90s, dude, honestly, if you were like privileged in the 90s, things were so hard.
It's just so hard.
What was the color of her hair before she dyed it?
Not red.
See, I thought it was red too. When she came
I
out, I was like,
also thought
oh,
it was
that's
red.
Red,
That's
but
a
they
different-
make a point to say it's not red anymore, or
Yeah,
it is red now as opposed to before.
and it's a kind of red that people are offended by.
Yeah,
It's like, holy shit, why are you doing
it's
this?
like Willow from Buffy red. It's like that.
No,
Mhm.
good. I thought you were gonna
brass
say
red.
Willow from Willow, and I'm like, well,
Yeah, sure, why
that's
not?
the mom, I guess. All right, so Michael Colby, does that kind of sum this up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing about the editing of this episode. The editing was so amazing. It made a 42-minute episode of television feel like a 3-hour epic movie. It felt so long. There was one shot where the mother was holding a tray of food, and she stood there for a full 15 seconds before, I'm assuming, the director said action, and she started moving, and they just left that in there. It was a really bold choice for a television show to feel quite so excruciatingly long.
Yeah, I agree.
My favorite part of the production of this episode is when they smear Vaseline on the camera lens, so everything is really blurry, and they put an iris around it, so it's all kind of faded on the edges,
Yeah,
and
so
they
nice.
desaturate all the colors, so we don't even know. Well, you hardly remembered what color her hair dyed into.
he's the double D. There we go. I thought
all right.
Dylan was double D. Also,
Yeah.
is there anyone other than Joe Rogan that can get away with doing some kind of Anne Frank bit? How saying like, oh, she was so lucky. Can you say Anne Frank was free at any point? Was she free? I don't think so. Zach, I'm going to send you proof. All right, give it to me, Horror with Sir Study, because you're going to get a personalized podcast from me. I swear. Okay, Michael Colby.
Mm-hmm.
We hop ahead to
Mhm.
June 26th, 1995.
I was 16 years old.
16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then what came out on possibly CBS or ABC, but Hulu right now for sure, was a show entitled In Dreams Become Responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, can you please sum up what happens in this last episode, the series finale of My So-Called Life?
Well, the Claire Danes' character is no longer friends with the girl with the braids, but is still friends with the gay guy who might be bisexual. We don't know, who has a crush on a girl who has a crush on him.
Mhm.
Claire Danes and Jordan Catalano have broken up for a reason we'll get to soon.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have gotten back together. Claire Danes' friend, who's a nerd, who has a crush on her, wrote a letter for Jordan Catalano telling Claire Danes how much he loves her, but it was really about him loving her. But Jordan took the credit. She finds out that it was the curly-haired guy who wrote the note, which then she gets into Jordan Catalano's car, but is staring at curly-haired guy who may or may not have been in a tree. I feel like he was in a tree at some point, but I don't remember when
He
that
was.
was.
I think that was the
Episode
first
1.
episode. Yeah.
Okay. So he was not in a tree at this point. And she looks at him longingly. Also, the woman that the father was with in the first episode was not someone he was having an affair with quite yet. She was actually someone who was helping him buy a restaurant. I think they were going to have an affair, but unfortunately for everyone, My So-Called Life was canceled after just one season.
Yeah, that was tough. And it ended on such a cliffhanger. Like
It was so many cliffhangers. It was like
many cliffhangers.
I've never seen that many cliffhangers
Yeah.
in an episode of television.
Yeah, so it's pretty clear that in 1994/1995, there was no such thing as bisexual. You either liked girls or you were gay, and you have to just accept that. Even if you like a girl, you're probably still gay, which is fine. And I think that ultimately he was probably my favorite character. He seemed the one that kind of held everything together, and kept the friends and was always telling people the right things to do. Now, like I said, I like
can I just say something about being bisexual in 1995?
Sure.
You're right. You either were gay or you were straight, and everybody knows that being bisexual was invented in 2003.
Yes.
So it was a very confusing time for me specifically because I had to keep switching back and forth. So it was a tough time. Fortunately, in 2003, they invented bisexuality, and
honestly, we all got happier.
Okay. Yes,
it's like, oh man,
absolutely.
we don't have to get made fun anymore. Daniel Gallo says season 2 was going to feature the affair, I think, and I completely agree. Now, what we do on the show is I usually challenge my fellow hosts to do some research, to really do some deep diving. Bihan says liking girls is the gayest thing you can do. Oh boy, not in 1994. I think anytime after 2004, it's pretty gay like a girl.
Yeah.
So I asked you guys beforehand to do as much research as possible and to find out what you found season 2 was going to be about. So season 2, Michael Colby, what did you find out season 2 was supposed to be about?
Well, what I really concentrated on was the relationship between Claire Danes and curly-haired guy. Which I found out they were originally going to get together at the beginning of the season. They were going to have a falling out in the middle of the season. Jordan Catalano was going to come back. And then Jordan was going to write a song for Claire Danes, for curly-haired guy Brian, I think was his name, to sing. He was going to take credit for the song, and then she was going to get on the back pegs of his bike, and then she finds out that Jordan actually wrote the song, and she was going to stare longingly at Jordan as they rode away on the bike. Yeah, it was like apparently they were just going to do that every season. Every season was going to be structured exactly the same.
Well, I mean,
for all of the characters, but with different relationships.
Yeah, the showrunner was a big Star Wars fan, and they decided to do The Empire Strikes Back and just make sure that it rhymed, and just kind of flip-flop thing a little bit, which is perfect. Dylan Terry, what did you uncover about season 2 of My So-Called Life?
I'm a little disappointed in myself because I don't remember the specific name. But the conversation between Angela and her old friend Sharon makes references to previous best friends of Rayanne, who she kind of like elevated to popularity. And then it's like, well, you remember what happened to her? Well, you remember? And they don't reveal that in the first season at all. They talk about it and they keep mentioning Rayanne has like a list of friends who are no longer at the school. And I think during season 2, they were going to reveal that she was raising these girls to popularity and then devouring them whole to coalesce her own popularity and increase it.
By absorbing the proteins of the people, or somehow eating their popularity?
Both.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was it was gonna pull a lot from like ancient Greek myth with like Titan devouring his son, or Kronos devouring his son. They were gonna make
they did reference Kronos a lot. That was true. Okay, now here's some questions that I had for you guys. In the very beginning of the last episode, one of a big part of Claire's dream is Aunt Gertrude's funeral. Now, the reason that was in her dream was because something just very significant happened. A couple things significant happened during Aunt Gertrude's funeral, most of which Claire could not get rid of. Dylan Terry, what was the most disturbing thing that happened to Claire at Aunt Gertrude's funeral to make her constantly dream of this?
I mean, she really should have learned not to like climb the tree to watch the funeral in that outfit. I mean, wearing a Sasquatch outfit to your great aunt's funeral is already kind of an issue. Climbing a tree just makes you look like wildlife. And so when the Rangers shot at her and it disrupted everything, and she was really embarrassed. And in the 90s in high school, being embarrassed in a Sasquatch suit, I think Michael can attest to this, is really, really difficult.
Yeah, especially when that Sasquatch suit is pretty much a ghillie suit made from Brian's curly hair, which made him fall in love with her a little more.
And before anybody, because this is PG, it's not like normal. Zach is in fact talking about the curly hair that's on top of his head.
Oh, right. Yes. Thanks for the clarification.
I wasn't.
Yes, you were, because it's PG. God, Zach.
You could say curlies. I asked specifically. Mick Manhattan says, if you do a podcast for somebody, you could say curlies. And I said, okay, I'll do a podcast for you, my friend. But same question to you, Michael Colby. What was the most disturbing thing to happen to Claire Danes, aka Angela, at Aunt Gertrude's funeral?
Well, I mean, the whole thing with Claire Danes at Aunt Gertrude's funeral was the Sasquatch thing. So I think Dylan already went over that just fine. What happened was, during the funeral, while they were, doing the Sasquatch thing and the Rangers were going after Claire Danes, several things happened during the funeral. There was, the normal family dramas. They really spent a lot of time on this. It was at least half of the episode for each episode of the show was what was going on at this funeral. So there was the normal family drama stuff. There was the teen romance stuff that was happening. I don't know why these things always happened at funerals in the 90s, but I thought the most interesting thing was the assassin who was the one who actually killed Aunt Gertrude did go to the funeral. She was watching from the back, in between the trees, dressed up in normal assassin garb, the trench coat with the high collar and the sunglasses. And the whole thing.
Aunt Gertrude's assassin or the Sasquatch assassin?
The Aunt Gertrude's assassin.
Okay.
The one who killed Aunt Gertrude.
Oh, okay.
Because... And they go into this. This is in a lot of the novelizations. It's in a lot of the video game stuff. The outside. They love to do this in the 90s, early 2000s. They would tie everything together. You couldn't just have the show. So there was a whole thing about Aunt Gertrude's time as a spy in Russia. She was getting information on the KGB. She was selling it back to the Americans, but she was also selling it to the French, which I thought was a little bit strange because I didn't think the French and the Russians really had anything to do with each other.
They go into that in the 360 video game.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't play that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had her, and then they were showing her LSD flashbacks, the assassins LSD flashbacks, not Aunt Gertrude's. Those were different. She was on a whole psilocybin thing. It was the way that they focused on the teen romance stuff in the first and last episodes really took away from what the show actually was. Because there was just so much like espionage, and it was really like an interesting show, but then they did keep going back to the romance stuff. And so much stuff happened in the bathroom of that high school. And Aunt Gertrude's assassin was in the one stall the whole time. It's a whole thing. I don't want to ramble because I already have.
I just want to say, I love the shot where she like looks under the stalls to see if the bathroom's empty, and then you see the boots come down, and you just know something's gonna go down.
Yeah.
I don't. Who named that cat Boots?
The thing is that the show didn't last long enough to find out what the assassin was doing in that bathroom, like what information she was getting, because she was there the whole time. So she must have been getting something. It would have been a waste of her time to be in that bathroom for no reason. I really wish.
Well, apparently they took that entire storyline and John Cusack bought the rights to that storyline and made Grosse Point Blank out of it. So that's why they really didn't want to get into it, because once he bought the rights to technically season 2 of My So-Called Life, aka Grosse Point Blank, in the 90s, they had
that makes so much sense. And it was just weird that John Cusack played the assassin, because the assassin was played by a 76-year-old woman in the show.
Well, he is known to whitewash his own material.
He was the same.
Dude, honestly, that 360 video game, and I could only watch clips of it. I couldn't find it for myself. I'm in the mountains of Colorado, so I could only watch videos from what I could search on Bing, and it seemed pretty cool.
I mean, it goes for a lot, because it was a fairly rare. It was a small run, and it is backwards compatible, but it has so much licensed music that you can't buy it in the store anymore. So you have to buy the physical copy. And it's tough to get a hold of anymore. But B, I do have 2 copies. I will send you one.
Oh, well,
wow.
I mean, I would like one.
Well, too bad.
Well, I mean, Dylan and I live kind of close. So if you were to give it to us, then 2 people could play it instead of just
okay. But I like B better than the 2 you put together.
We're going to move on here. And honestly, we had a couple comments down there. One was Daniel was saying that the Krakow was the first incel, which is true. It was one of the questions I was going to ask. Brian at the very end of the episode was like, well, if I, and he did say this, he goes, she's going to fucking die someday anyways. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, well, we're all going to die. If I can't have a girlfriend, they're all going to die.
Used it, Zach. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. That was a quote. No, that was a quote from the show.
It doesn't matter,
count.
man.
No, it doesn't count here, because that's a quote from something else.
It's
like you're allowed to cuss in front of your parents if it's a quote from someone else, because you're, paying tribute.
Now I have to watch my own language. Great.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
I mean,
B says, I can't wait to play it again. Oh, man. Well, folks, you might be watching live the breakdown of this show.
We unravel every episode. We unravel, and then we come back together at the end.
Well, because we always
bond.
Well, 2 of us always draw lines in the sand, and I don't know why, because I guess it is classic 90s so-called life. Okay, now let's get into the meat of this thing. Oh, also, I did see a comment that the Sasquatch was there all along. True. If you actually watch in the background, you'll see a lot more devious things that this director threw into there, which was another reason they didn't want to put it on there, because they had to switch over to Supernatural and then have 2 white guys play that. So, okay, the meat of the show, right? Claire Danes, aka Angela, episode 1, loves the Joker.
Yes.
Episode last is pretty upset with the Joker. Now, what we find out throughout the season is that he hurts her a couple times. Now, it is arguable which one was the one to make her not talk to him for the second half of the season. The drummer always brings up that's honestly, yeah.
That's actually never ever true.
No. You look at ZZ Top. That drummer broke that band right up. Now, what do you think?
I'm pretty sure that was a death that broke that band.
Are they still together? I don't think so.
They're not.
Now,
they're not.
Dylan Terry. Of all the times Jordan hurt her in the 90s, 1994, 1995, what would you say was just the dumbest? Like, come on, get over that, Angel.
It's when he took her to see Independence Day. Just in general, she's just not a sci-fi fan, and she tells him again and again and again, like, I want to go see Jurassic Park. I want to go see Jurassic Park. And he's like, cool, I got us tickets to the movies. We're going to go. Sits down. Big old credits, and she can't leave because it's rude in the 90s to leave during a movie. She's stuck there for like 3 hours.
Didn't Independence Day come out in 1996?
I mean, this show was made in like 1997 or something. Like, it was after the fact.
What was after the fact?
It was after the fact.
What? Okay, A, what was the fact, and B, what's after the fact?
It's a TV show. It doesn't have to adhere to like strict reality.
The show was made in 1994. It was set in 1997. They made the movie Independence Day so that
the show was canon with reality.
so that the
continuity.
timeline matched up with
This
the
show might be deeper than I think. I got to do some more
Absolutely.
research on this.
Zach, you should know from this show that every single show has layers and layers of the stupidest stuff you'll
except
ever
JoJo.
hear about.
That show's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's
Which
really
one?
basic.
JoJo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
JoJo's pretty
And his pretty boring adventures. So it was going to Independence Day and what? Ruining the ending?
Yeah.
Oh. That is
Yeah,
that is
it was
lame.
aliens the whole time. Who would have guessed?
Yeah. Everyone, I think, that's in a trailer. But I guess there was no trailer in 1994 or 7. Mike Colby, same question. Of all the times Jordan heard her, what was the most dumb? Get over it, Angela.
I'm glad that Dylan didn't take this one. But it was when Jordan Catalano sent Claire Danes a note saying, "Meet me at the museum," signed it from Brian. So she's at the museum, she's eating dinner. All of a sudden the waiter comes up to her with a gas mask, and there's just a note on there that says, "Put this on." So the museum locks down. Jordan Catalano comes in with a bunch of his hooligan friends. They're all wearing gas masks. You see this green mist just start coming in. Everyone around them starts dying. Angela puts on the gas mask. Jordan proceeds to run around listening to Prince, defacing the art. And then he comes in, sits down with her, sends all of his goons away, looks through her portfolio of photos, and then I don't remember what happened after that. But yeah, I was like, you know what? He just wanted to see your pictures. He was making a big deal out of this so that he could see the pictures that you took. I thought it was a grand gesture. She thought it was weird, but he thought it was a grand gesture. I was like, this is the most romantic thing I've ever seen. I wish you didn't make such a big deal out of this. He killed like 15 people. Big deal.
And what happened after that?
I don't remember. I think Angela went back to her house. The curly-haired Brian guy came in. Then there was a fight. Brian puts a silver serving tray in underneath his shirt. Jordan Catalano shoots him.
You do good.
Yeah. And then he smashes a vase.
I mean,
yeah, but that was the first vase that her dad gave her mom, though. So you could see why she would be upset. But I guess I can understand what you're saying. Like, he's just really all he wants to do is look at your portfolio.
Like when Jordan Catalano takes her to the church and walks her up all of those steps, there's like a clock tower. There's like a bell up there. And then Brian's chasing after him, and but that, some of that stuff is upsetting. You asked about the ones that she should have just gotten over. It was the museum thing.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Now, because this is a classic 90s show, obviously most of our characters have classic catchphrases that they kind of try out and then some latch on throughout the season. Can you tell me, Dylan, what was your favorite catchphrase that any of these characters said over and over again?
It's any time that Jordan Catalano says, "I'ma never finish the spaghetti."
Yeah.
Like once an episode, and he's not eating spaghetti. He never does. Like,
yeah.
Like, all right, cool, whatever.
All right, well, let's pause my question and get to this one, which is way more important. What was everyone's favorite Jack Black cameo? Because obviously he did pop in here, I think 3 to 4 times, and we're going to exclude the Sasquatch cameo because that is the given. But Michael Colby, your favorite Jack Black cameo from My So-Called Life?
Well, if you ask me,
I did.
1994 Tenacious D was sort of like right where you wanted to be. So the Battle of the Bands, when Jordan Catalano's band plays their just plays their little hearts out. They're up there, they're screaming, they're eaming, they're screamoing, and they're putting so much. All of the band members are just crying tears of joy. They love this new song they're premiering at this Battle of the Bands, and they're main characters of this show. So you think, oh man, this is so beautiful, everybody's gonna love this. And then just two guys, just Kyle Gass, Jack Black, get up on stage, they play Rock Your Socks, and everybody's just on their feet cheering, and everybody from Jordan Catalano's band is just devastated. And I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, and it's odd that you mentioned the Tenacious D one, because mine actually was a Tenacious D reference as well, but not a musical one. It was the one where Jordan Catalano went to get his spine pierced, and he saw Kyle Gass there, and Kyle Gass is like, wait, you have your spine pierced too? And I'm like, oh, some kids are not going to get that, but I get that. Question off topic, Zach, do you have a closet? Do I have a closet and a hat? I do actually. Yeah, there's probably a whole bunch of them. There's probably 7 back there somewhere. But yeah, it's my hat, man. Dylan Terry, favorite Jack Black cameo from My So-Called Life.
Jack Black is a physical comedian, so it's nice to see him on stage, but I like the vocal cameo he has in the Purge episode. Not the eating disorder episode, the Lawless Anarchy episode, where they're like 8 o'clock bell rings, everybody's in class, and then the announcements come on, and it's Jack Black giving you the purge warning at the start. For the next what is it, 8 hours, 7 hours, however long the school day lasts, all laws will be suspended. Have at it, kids, go crazy. The rest of the episode is not great, but it's nice to hear Jack Black being like a posh British woman. Yeah.
That was a really interesting way to have a bottle episode start, though. It's like, how do you get everyone in the same room at once? You do that. Now, speaking of Tenacious D and the Battle of the Bands, Jordan Catalano goes through a lot of different bands throughout this season. The band that he talks about in the last episode is called Residue, which they sound like a pretty cool band. But as we know, he went through probably 26, 27 different bands in this season. 2-part question. And I'm going to start with Dylan. What was your favorite genre of music Jordan tested out, and your favorite band name of that genre that Jordan Catalano was in My So-Called Life?
It is I like the speed metal band Obliteration Threshold. Like, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go with that one. I think I'm going to go with Obliteration Threshold. Especially considering they do speed metal on an accordion. And it's just an impressive piece of music.
Yeah. You've never seen whatever these muscles are. I've never seen those muscles stronger than a speed metal accordionist.
Yeah,
Michael Cole. What?
Your traps.
I'm pretty sure it's the traps.
Yeah, that's these muscles.
Is this a Star Wars thing?
No.
I think it's short for trapezoids.
Oh, that's a Dylan's showing his Pornhub page. That's cool. All right. Michael Colby, same question.
I'm not a fan of pop punk music, but I thought it was fun because when they were trying the pop punk band and they were in the basement, and they're like, all right, we got 3 songs. That's really all we need to start going out, because we only get, as a punk band, 15 minutes sets to begin with anyway. What are we going to name this band? And then Jordan looks over and, to where all of the for some reason, his parents kept the boxes of all the electronics in the house, and he saw the one for the coffee maker, and he was like, automatic drip. And then they had that pop punk band Automatic Drip.
Yeah. That was nice.
Yeah.
They sounded kind of like Hoobastank, right? Is that what that Hoobastank? Is that pop punk?
Hoobastank is new metal.
No. No.
No, it's not.
Then what am I thinking of?
Hoobastank
did the
sounds like
reason.
Hoobastank sounds like Incubus kind of.
Okay. Well, then obviously it's not pop punk at all, since you already knew Zach.
I don't know what
You're
pop
trying
punk
to
is.
trap me.
What's pop punk? Is that Blink 182?
Yeah, pop punk is like Blink 182, Green Day,
Yeah, automatic.
Sum
Drip.
41.
Mm.
I don't know that
Garbage.
one. Yeah, garbage. Okay, my next question that I have for you guys is throughout the season, obviously it's a 90s show, and they have that classic hangout spot, which because of random fires, random drug interventions, and other things, they were the reason. That's true. Hoobastank was the reason. Of all the random places that the group just gathered and hung out and showed their pogs off together, what was your favorite of the hangout spots? Michael.
There was the park. They had the tree. There was a bench. They had the anti-homeless what do you call those, armrests in the middle?
Yeah.
So it was just a bunch of very like attractive 22-year-olds pretending to be 16-year-olds, just like sitting in a straight line. So then every time it was a little bit awkward, because if somebody was sitting, 3 or 4 seats down, they would have to film the thing, and it was always just that one static long shot with the bars on the bottom and the top. It didn't fit. Again, the editing in this show was just atrocious, but it was funny and relatable when like one of your friends sitting 4 seats down said something, and then you would have to be like, what was that? And they would be like, yeah, I said, whatever. And then you're like, oh yes, that was a funny observation.
And then the person next to you is like, why are you yelling in my face?
Yeah.
Very true to life.
Yeah.
Just very realistic interactions with teens, because that's how teens do it.
Yeah, just hanging out at a 9-person bench, just trying to repeat each other's sentences. Honestly, that's what the 90s was. Before cell phones, we just sat. Dylan Terry, same question. Favorite hangout spot?
It comes in the later half of the season, but when they start hanging out at the donut hole, but not the weird one, I thought that was like a really good social gathering place for them. And they always have to distinguish not the weird one. Ever since Rayanne went to the weird one, and they had that very special episode. But you don't see a whole lot of donut parlors.
Yeah.
And when it got bought out by Tim Hortons, it was really kind of a major blow to the end of the season.
Yeah. But I don't know if I can agree with that, because I thought that because that donut shop was the sponsor of those few episodes, they just kept saying the name of the donut shop over and over again. And I'm like, yeah, we get it. This is the donut hole, like the good one.
Not the weird one. Yeah.
Yeah. Not the weird one. Yeah.
They added, I did like how they added the sign, parentheses, not the weird one, to the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, they had to.
Yeah,
because
after you saw the weird one,
we all watched the show.
Yeah. Whenever they said, "All right, we want to go to the donut hole," you're like, "Oh no, it's not the weird one, is it?" And then they would show the outside shot of the donut hole, not the weird one.
Because then it came to the point where people stopped asking if it was the weird one or the good one, because it was assumed it'd be the good one. And then that one time they took to the weird one, and it's like, we all know what happened to Ray.
Like eyes wide shut in here.
Yeah,
I did really like that episode in the donut hole, the weird one, directed by David Lynch. I really liked the interior of that place. The guy who owned it, walking backwards. I feel like he used. I feel like he reused a lot of his older stuff, but it was nice to see it split up.
It was weird to see the baby from Eraserhead behind the bar, though.
Yeah.
It was nice to see that he grew up to be somebody who was like
Jared Leto.
Yeah, like a reasonable member of society
Mhm.
after what he went through.
The thing is, like, whenever you give David Lynch like free reign, you kind of just get to points where you're like, I don't even understand what, and you're thinking about what the decisions are. Like, why have just sand as the ground in a donut shop? Even if it is the weird donut shop. And now I'm spending too much time worrying about this and not why this wall has a tuxedo on.
Yeah, and why did they use the sand from the floor to make the tables and the bar? Like it just seems like because there were no plates in the donut hole. So they're just putting glazed donuts on top of sand. And it's like these can't be good donuts. Like they
but also
look
it's like
good to begin with, but then they're just covered in sand.
Yeah, and you're like, there has to be a meaning to this. You don't just put this in something for no reason. Just to make this kind of thing up for no apparent reason makes no sense whatsoever.
It's David Lynch. If he wants a hand dryer that spits out spiders, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and they did it, when they interviewed him on MTV, they were like, can you tell us about the sand table? Like, why was everything so sandy at the donut hole? They're like, can you explain that? And he just said no, and that was all he said about it.
No, I don't like salads.
Now weather.
Obviously, the last episode started with Angela's dream, where her feet were stuck and she can't get to Jordan, and her aunt dies, and her parents want to spend more time with her. Which turns out that her having random dreams is a pretty big part of the entire story. So much so that every other episode starts with one of her dreams. Now, Michael Colby, what was your favorite dream intro to My So-Called Life in 1994?
I really was enjoying the episode. I think it was episode 16 that started with it was Claire Danes and Jared Leto on Endor, and he was, because this was like right when their relationship was hitting its first like rocky patch. So Jared Leto is on the speeder bike, just weaving in and out of the trees, and she's trying to keep up with him. And then they never really put any Ewoks in, but there was like hints of Ewoks. There was like a little bit of movement here and a little bit of movement there. The speeder bikes also looked a little bit off, so I don't think they actually had the rights to any of it. And now that I'm thinking of it, she may have said Mdor. Yeah.
Well, that changes a lot. I wish I would have heard that, because that reminds me of the dream she had with her friend Emily, and she kept calling her M, and then there was like that door that she had to hold all those things back from. And they're like, Emily, hold the door. Emily, hold the door. Emily, door. M, door.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
M
God,
door.
that makes so much sense now, huh? B. Highland, they had a great remark that it was the Renaissance Fair. Now, obviously, they didn't understand what that meant because they came in dressed as completely the wrong people. But yeah, I mean, the Renaissance Fair was a very funny episode, and to move over to slapstick was pretty interesting. But yeah, Dylan Terry, how about you? What was your favorite dream sequence?
Well, I thought you were going to talk about it when you talked about the M door dream, but it's the other door dream. She finds that she like has a dream that she's at school, goes into like the crawl space above the auditorium and finds that weird little half door, goes through it. And when she goes back to class, everybody has Claire Danes' face and they just say Danes, Claire Danes. And then there's some weird like body swap shenanigans, and she gets trapped in there. And to have that dream go on for most of the episode, and to have almost the entirety of the dialogue just be Claire Danes, and then Claire Danes like expressing, who is Claire Danes? My name is Angela. It really, really kind of clever meta commentary on the show, I thought.
Yeah, it was meta way before Facebook. Like that was some serious good thinking there.
There's you know what? I didn't really think of it, but the amount of like John Cusack tie-in with this show was, and for him to have never actually been like it's like John Cusack watched My So-Called Life and then just took
picked ideas from
everything,
everything.
everything that you've ever
everything.
seen John Cusack do after 1994 is
Mhm.
just a ripoff of My So-Called Life.
Yeah, but before 2012.
You're an idiot.
Come on. Okay, we don't have a lot more time left. I do have a couple more questions. As we see in the last episode, the theater trope is a big deal here. They're super into the theater. They're trying to sell tickets for this show that I completely forget what the name of. But it seems like that, they're all theater kids, and they put on multiple shows to get to nationals or regionals throughout this season. What was your favorite iteration of a theater show that they put on? I'm going to start with the theater kid himself, Dylan.
Yeah, sure. It was when they did Grease 2, but it was really heavily redacted to make it safe for school. So it was only like 13 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 words of dialogue, next scene. The opening notes of a song, next scene. And then for some reason, they just did the Let's Do It for a Country song in full. That one where it's like, let's do it for America, let's do it for our country, and they're in the bunker. Yeah.
Now, I've never seen Grease 2. Would you mind going through the quick plot of that?
There are some kids at school, and they all want to have sex with each other, and they do a class on reproduction, and they go to a bowling alley, and they want to have sex with each other, and then they're in a bunker to protect themselves from the Russians, and they want to have sex with each other.
Oh.
And then Sandy and Danny drive off a cliff? Or is it the end of the first one?
I think that's Thelma and Louise.
I think they're the same. I think Grease 2 is like the bridge between the two IPs.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a very horny movie. Yeah.
It does feel horny. I'll say that.
Which is why they had to cut it down to a 13-minute kind of like montage.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go to the other theater kid, Michael Colby. What was yours?
There was one episode where they wanted to do the play Hair. And there was an entire episode where they were trying to figure out if they should do the nudity. And it was very strange because the teachers involved in this, and all they're talking about is whether or not they're going to be able to put these high school students nude up on stage in front of parents.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very strange episode. They end up doing it. Luckily, since the actors were in their 20s, it was okay, but they were still portraying high school students, which was very strange. And if you understand that reference that I just made, I will make a personal podcast just for you about anything that you want. But you have to prove to me that you understood what that reference was to.
All right. Expect my email in 4 minutes.
I
really thought you were going to say when they redid Jesus Christ Superstar and had Enrique play the Ted Neely character. And then people are like, wait, is this saying Jesus might be gay? And I'm like, this is a pretty good episode, but they didn't answer that question. So who knows?
B. Hyland did say, in case you missed it, B. Hyland did say that everyone is sad and gay, so of course they're theater kids.
No, everyone is sad and gay. You just can't tell people in the 90s that you were sad and gay. You could tell people that everyone's going to die. That's fine.
It was still illegal.
You could tell them that you were gay. You just couldn't tell them that you were bisexual.
Oh, true. Yeah. You also couldn't be sad and gay, I think. Not
yeah, you had to be happy or sad and straight. Yeah. The 90s was a very like binary time, and people look back on it fondly, but it was horrible.
No, I agree. I don't really have any more questions about this show, except the most obvious, which is based on what we think happens in this show. Would you make time to binge it? Dylan Terry, will you have time to binge this show?
Nah.
Michael Colby.
Absolutely not.
Perfect.
I would like to figure out, because the last episode did feel like a 40-minute episode of television.
Yeah.
So I would like to figure out exactly where it was that they got a new editor. But I don't want to suffer however long it takes until that new editor does show up.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, there we go. Scene snobs are here.
Hi.
A heavily
we're getting
redacted
played
version
off.
of Grease. Just about made me piss myself. And then Kobe comes in for the win.
Binary 90s.
Binary 90s.
That's the name of our electropop duo.
I love it.
They're not doing well though. It's not a good
No,
band.
we don't have any music made.
I thought we bullshitted a lot for our show.
Nah.
And you guys,
We pale in comparison.
you
I've got a
guys-
degree in
Children dancing on the stage of mediocrity compared to you
won-
guys.
you won
And
so many
that's
Sony
why-
awards this year. How many did you win this year?
7, right?
It was
This show got 3.
This particular show got
It was in
3.
the upper double digits.
I should be because
Yeah.
you just won the Snobby Award for best bullshitters. I love it.
Hey, listen, look, you can't tell us we don't like shows. We love our TV shows.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Remember it right or not.
My favorite part was when Jeff is in the green room because he's on the next show. He's on Real Combat tonight, and he was sitting at the computer. He looked like he was about to get up, and then you mentioned Ted Neely, and Jeff sat back down because he's such a Ted Neely fan. He has interviewed the man. It's a great interview. Go check it out.
Classic Conversations with Jeff Dawson.
Yeah.
We're getting to that part.
Yeah.
No, but you guys did amazing today.
Brilliant.
This was so
Thank you,
funny.
thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Your show-
And that stands. If somebody donates $10 and can prove to Mick Manhattan that you sent $10 to this charity, you prove to him, and he'll send it to me. I will send them a personalized podcast of their topic or choosing, and it'll be professionally produced. I'm going to put music to it and everything. I'm going to go at it. So I'll make Dylan do most of it, but whatever.
You're gonna instruct Zach. That's an important part.
Of course.
Look, I get it done is what.
Yeah,
it is.
as a fellow instructor, that's really my power here.
Yeah.
Hopefully for the
Five-
next, like, month
five-
and a half, Dylan's doing like 40 podcasts.
At 5:30 tonight,
Mhm.
you will learn more about Zach and Dylan's relationship. I
True.
promise.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
a very special PowerPoint presentation
Cannot
tonight.
wait for this. I can't wait for PowerPoint.
Gonna
The
be
next
amazing.
show is really funny too, so make sure you're back at 5:30 tonight for it. Thank you guys so much. Really, truly appreciate you coming out and doing this. You guys are all amazing. No Time to Binge, everybody. Go check it out. And on the way, go down to the descriptions, hit the GoFundMe, and donate your money.
Yes, give us
Yeah.
the money for the things because these wonderful people are providing you with fantastic entertainment, all for a
And-
great cause.
and
Almost
let
for
us-
free.
Let us know that you gave the money because we will send you personalized podcasts.
No,
that
that's
you
true.
cannot. Once you get the podcast, it's just for you. No
Yeah.
one else is allowed to listen to it.
It's like a Wu-Tang song.
Don't
Oh
you
my
yes.
God.
F-word
Yeah.
share it. Yeah, but don't be that.
Selling,
Yeah.
selling at $1,000 a pop?
No, we can't have any Scarellis. No Scarellis. Yeah, none of them can have our shit. All right, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate you all. Donate money, please. Great
Yeah.
charities. We love you all. Please, please, please. And we'll see you back at 5:30 Eastern.
Yes, you guys are the best. Guys, this was No Time to Binge. Go check it out. This was a lot of fun. And thank you, Zach. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dylan, for all being there. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
Love you, appreciate you. Thank you. As always, another fantastic round of shows.
Are we supposed to go?
No, it's more fun to keep it
I'll
awkward.
send you
Oh.
off. I had to kick them out, but we love them. They were fantastic. That was wonderful. That was a great time. And we have